What is going on, guys? SageArtz here. So I was thinking to myself about some videos I can make on Demon Slayer that would just be interesting to talk about. To this day on my channel, I think the most well received video for Demon Slayer, in my opinion anyway, is my Rengoku vs Giyuu video I did back in 2019. Even though it's outdated, I still love interacting and seeing you guys' thoughts on that battle. But recently I was thinking about Akaza against the Hashira. And quick note, this video will contain spoilers for the entire Demon Slayer manga, so if you don't want any spoilers, now's your chance to click off. But yeah, as I was saying, I was thinking about Akaza going against the Hashira. With him being my favourite upper moon, I wanted to take the chance to talk about him, and what's a better topic than this? Now, to make my intentions clear for this video, this is Akaza against all the Hashira at their strongest in 1v1 battles, because I think it's unanimous that if Akaza was to get jumped by all 9 Hashira at full power with Demon Slayer marks, the transparent world and red blades, and even the others who didn't awaken anything, he would 100% lose. And then again, I guess you could say the same for most of the Hashira in this current simulation I'm running for this video, of there being one-on-one fights, since almost all of the battles against upper moons in the series resulted in multiple slayers against the upper moons to make it even remotely fair. And even then, they didn't actually succeed in outright defeating the main ones, if we're being honest, since with Akaza and Kokushibo, they both had chances to revive and attain greater power. However, they just had a change of heart that led to their demise. But that's just how it is with Demon Slayer. These monsters known as upper moon demons aren't actually supposed to lose. They're so overpowered it's not even funny, but we gotta respect the Demon Slayer corpse regardless. So yeah, I'll just go over Akaza against each individual Hashira at their best, and state any scenarios where they might potentially be able to win against him if there is any. And who's better to start with than the boy himself, Rengoku. Rengoku was the first Hashira to encounter Akaza back in the Mugen Train arc, and this was the first time we actually got to see the devastating power of the upper moons on display. Rengoku fought valiantly against Akaza, but would end up losing his life against Upper Moon 3, so clearly Rengoku would lose against Akaza. Though in the battle he did come close to taking off Akaza's head as a desperate last stand, with the sun's presence definitely making the situation much more tense and serious for Upper Moon 3. We still can't take away from the fact that Rengoku held him at bay, but again that doesn't change the fact that Rengoku would lose to Akaza 100% in the state he was in before he died. However, Akaza did know Rengoku's potential, and before prompting him to become a demon himself, he did say that Rengoku was close to the edge of perfection, and this is a take which honestly can be seen in two ways, of Rengoku possibly not being able to get that much stronger, but you can also see it as Rengoku being closer to reaching the realm of supremacy, which would have taken his power to otherworldly heights, as we saw with the Demon Slayer marks, red blades and the transparent world later on in the series. I personally believe if Rengoku had lived longer, he definitely would have attained these powers and would have been able to give Akaza a run for his money, just going off by how much he accomplished without them. Then again, that's just a thought, but in the story, yes, Rengoku did and would lose to Akaza. Next up, we have the physically weakest Hashira, Shinobu Kocho, and honestly I'm not going to drag this on, she would get absolutely bodied by Akaza, and I'm not even a Shinobi hater or anything, but it's just facts. Shinobu's powers definitely lie in her intellect and poisoning, and with the pivotal role she played in the final arc of the series, I wouldn't downplay her and say she couldn't make a poison that could potentially kill Akaza or weaken him to the point where she or other slayers would have a fighting chance, as we saw with the Doma fight with Shinobu and then Kanao and Inosuke. But honestly, against someone like Akaza, I just don't believe she would get that far, especially since Akaza doesn't eat women. She would even be able to use that same play she did with Doma, which was only effective because she knew her opponent and his tendencies. So yeah, if Shinobi were to go one-on-one with Akaza, she would be completely overwhelmed and just disposed of. Next up, I want to talk about Tengen Uzui, and Tengen I feel would have been a really interesting, if not perfect matchup for Akaza if he hadn't retired, but I'll get onto that in a second. We saw how well Tengen performed in the Entertainment District arc against Upper Moon 6, Daki and Gyutaro, but it's clear that he wouldn't be a match for Akaza at all, especially since someone like Rengoku, who Tengen respected and believed had talent, ended up losing to him. And he did struggle with Upper Moon 6 mainly due to the poisoning and the fact both needed to be taken out at the same time, and Akaza is way clear of those two in terms of power, experience and just everything. So Tengen, like most of these Hashira, would lose unless a perfect opportunity presented itself. But here's my hypothetical, obviously it would never happen, but imagine how strong Tengen would be if he had access to the transparent world, Demon Slayer mark and red blade in conjunction with his musical score technique, which he perfected during the battle against Upper Moon 6. And though I understand why Tengen retired, it's sad we never got to see the musical score technique again. And a quick rundown in case you forgot Tengen's musical score technique, it basically allows him to break down enemy movements into sound, which he can then react to accordingly just off hearing them in a battle. So essentially all his battles would be like a song or music, which would give him a massive advantage as he can instantly react to his opponent's moves due to what he hears. I personally feel like this would be an interesting matchup, as this technique could be a perfect counter to Akaza's compass needle that searches and detects battle spirit. At the minimum, I feel like it would make it less effective if anything. And with the additional visual prowess and insight provided by the transparent world and the physical boost of the Demon Slayer marks, it would be hard to say who would actually win in that fight. But obviously, again, this is just a make-up scenario that I'm actually so sad wasn't reality. Like, damn man, that could have been a crazy fight. However, just going off the story, Tengen would 100% lose to Akaza, so that's another one added to the list. And call me lazy here because I'm going to go over this really fast, but Mitsuri would lose without a shadow of a doubt as well. So I don't really want to go too in depth with her. As a Hashira, I think she's really cool and physically she's very strong. But up against a character like Akaza, I definitely think she would not just be overwhelmed physically, but mentally, leading to a quick defeat. The main reason I'm just skimming over Mitsuri so fast is because she's definitely on the weaker side of the Hashira alongside Shinobu, and I actually want to talk about the remaining Hashira in a bunch, and I don't want to keep you guys here all day. So sorry Mitsuri. Now, out of the remaining Hashira being Gyomei, Sanemi, Iguro, Giyuu, and Muichiro, only 3 of these Hashira in the canon timeline for Demon Slayer have a very low but not 0% chance of killing Akaza should they be in the right situation, with the 2 with no chance personally speaking being Giyuu and Muichiro. Giyuu and Muichiro are very capable Hashira, but they were definitely lacking in comparison to the other 3 I mentioned. And when I say this, I believe that they might be able to put up a good fight, but they would never be in a position of fully taking off Akaza's head despite the abilities they possess. So let's start with Giyuu. Since these fights are still one-on-one, Giyuu wouldn't have access to the red blade, which he unlocked on 2 occasions during the final arc. The first time being by smashing swords with Sanemi, and the second being with Tanjiro. During the fight Giyuu and Tanjiro had against Akaza in the Infinity Fortress arc, Giyuu managed to hold his ground at times throughout the fight, but as the water Hashira who can adapt very well to different situations and Giyuu's defensive nature when in battle, it literally took all he had to hold his ground. At no point throughout the fight was Giyuu landing any blows to Akaza which were necessarily effective. And this isn't a problem. Akaza is an insanely strong demon, and with his neck being his only weak spot, it is insanely tough to cut. As we saw with Rengoku, who was near death, he only managed to get halfway through Akaza's neck, even though he was using that hysterical strength which is accessible when being close to death. And keep in mind, the only person to behead Akaza, being Tanjiro, is literally using the strongest breathing technique in the entire series, and he was in a selfless state where Akaza literally couldn't track him. This state not even being accessed by all those who tapped into the transparent world, but only Tanjiro, his father, and Yoriichi Tsugikuni. So without Giyuu having access to at least the red blade, which hampers regeneration of demons, or the transparent world, there was no chance of him specifically taking down Akaza, especially since he was easily overwhelmed after awakening his mark. And it was a 2v1 in the actual timeline, and he didn't get close. And the same thing goes for Muichiro for slightly different reasons, being his inexperience, which isn't his fault since he's still young, and his physical capabilities. Normal blows from someone like Akaza would be extremely fatal for Muichiro, which would result in a similar situation to his encounter with Upper Moon 1 Kokushibo. So I just don't see Muichiro lasting long enough or being able to maintain his strength long enough to land a decisive blow on Akaza. But I will say that if Muichiro was in, let's say, perfect form, no injuries, transparent world, red blade, Demon Slayer mark, which he unlocked 2 of when he was literally dying, I can see him putting up a good fight against Akaza and potentially even getting a similar result to Rengoku of almost cutting off his neck, but eventually he will run out of strength. Now for Iguro, Sanemi, and Gyomei, these Hashira are definitely the most powerful, which was made very evident during the battle against Upper Moon 1 and Muzan. Sanemi with his destructive wind breathing, adaptability, and Morichi blood, Gyomei with his experience, perfect physical form and durability, and Iguro with his swiftness, speed, and technique. I believe that all 3 of these people had their max strength being the transparent world, Demon Slayer mark, and the red blades for Iguro and Gyomei, and the mark just for Sanemi, would be more likely than the others to potentially kill Akaza. Again, these are one-on-one fights, but during the fight with Upper Moon 1, who was much stronger than Akaza, we saw 2 of these slayers progressively get stronger during the bout, and being able to stand their ground for brief periods of time solo against Kokushibo. Even though the battle was a group effort, I think that in a one-on-one situation with Akaza, they'd be able to land a decisive blow to his neck. And not to say that there wouldn't be any risk at hand, because the only person who was able to do that was Tanjiro in a selfless state where Akaza couldn't detect him. So even if any of these 3 Hashira had that opportunity, I still think that they would be in big danger. They potentially even get taken out at the same time. I'm very confident that if Gyomei had that opportunity, he would definitely be able to take off his head. And with Sanemi, despite him not having access to the transparent world or red blade, it's not a stretch to say that with his physical ability and his Morichi blood that was able to infatuate even Kokushibo, he would be able to be in a position to take down Akaza. and this guy just doesn't go down. So no matter what happens to him, I would expect him to at least like get the job done if he was in that situation. And with Iguro, honestly, the Muzan fight was his only showcase of his abilities, but the fact that he was able to evolve so much in a short period of time, he was a big factor in preventing Muzan from escaping, and he even landed the blow straight to Muzan's neck when he was trying to flee from the Demon Slayers. I just feel like he would potentially be able to get a decisive blow as well. But then again, this video was just something I wanted to do for fun, just seeing if any of the Hashira had even the smallest chance to take down Akaza in a 1v1 if they are at their full power. So don't necessarily take it too serious, because we do know 99% of the time Akaza is going to win. However, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned in the beginning, I want to make more videos like this in the future, and definitely stay tuned for the second part of my Kimetsu battle series, which I'll try to get out before the end of the year. I just know Rengoku vs Giyuu is getting lonely in that playlist. And you guys can also follow me at SageArtz_ to keep updated with me outside of YouTube. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.